Okay, hello. Good evening. This is LaQueen Battle First Aid Responder Services. Very happy to be here today. I'm in Boston, downtown Boston. I have the opportunity to be here tonight to talk about some of my experiences dealing with Black Lives Matter. And it is February, so this book was published last year in 2021. And now it is the end of Black History Month. Today is less than 6 more days left till the end of Black History Month. And as you know, we have had the death of another young Black soul that has passed us, the death of a young Black son called named Amir Locke. So prayers to the family of Amir Locke, who was killed through a no knock search warrant by police. So we want to send out prayers of health and prayers of healing for the family of Amir Locke, even though it was reported that his cousin was actually the one that police were looking for. The police were looking for his cousin and not necessarily him. So the police were looking for the cousin of Amir Locke instead of looking for Amir Locke. They came to Amir Locke's house looking for his cousin. And then that's when they pulled up and busted through the doors and proceeded to issue the no knock search warrant because of the cousin of Amir Locke was involved in the murder of two members of his family, his family. So if that's the case, they were looking for Amir Locke's cousin instead of him. So that's a whole nother issue, and maybe also debated between other people too as well. But anyway, that is the issue. What the Black Lives Matter movement is constantly dealing with right now. They do have attorney Ben Crump, who is actually working with the issue. Ben Crump is as well as Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson have been hired to work on the case with the Amir Locke case. So that may also be another monetary value in this case. But beyond the lawyers, beyond the money, beyond the prayers and the protests and the marches, whatever it is, you still have to come to a fact that our Black community is in pain right now. That we are dealing with a lot of issues that we can still not face. Um, being we're right now domestic violence is at its highest in the Black community than it's ever been before, as well as domestic violence within young Black young Black people, as well as domestic violence within the military community, and that is something that the Black Lives Matter movement doesn't really focus a lot on. They focus a lot more on deaths under police brutality, but actually domestic violence is a huge issue that needs to be dealt with within the Black community. Um, and then on top of that, some other factors that the Black Lives Matter movement needs to focus on is, of course, AIDS and HIV health. So that's also another factor that the Black Lives Matter needs to focus on. If it did promoting activism towards AIDS health and HIV health. It would have, because the founding chapter was in Los Angeles, and Los Angeles has one of the highest rates of HIV. Um, you still cannot replace the deaths from the HIV epidemic versus the deaths under police brutality. Okay, so I know both are a little bit sensitive topics for a lot of people to talk about. Okay, to talk about, but still at the same time, though, at the same time, um, we have to come to a realization, okay, um, that the Black Lives Matter movement has done an amazing job. Okay, an amazing, phenomenal job. They've been nominated for the Peace Prize, Nobel Peace Prize once or twice already. Have much of a global impact. And actually, the Black Lives Matter movement has a stronger impact overseas in the UK and Germany and France, Paris, than it does here in the States. So you see, a lot more people have much more of an impact coming from London, coming from Paris, coming from Germany, overseas, coming into the Black Lives Matter movement here to the States. They come here to the States and they come all that energy, they take all that power with them, and therefore they make much more impact politically and socially to come and say, we know what we're doing, we know how to make this movement work, and we know what direction this movement should take. But at the same time, you have to deal with a lot of issues as well as enemies that are associates that also may be a factor of the Black Lives Matter movement. Such associates also may be Antifa, which Antifa is an organization that sometimes go to the same protests as the Black Lives Matter, but they are not one and the same. Okay, Antifa is not the same as they, it's a different sect. Okay, there's also some other sects, little sects. They may also try to come up together and say we are part of this group with the Black Lives Matter movement, but they are not one and the same. Okay, so again, you have to understand that the Black Lives Matter movement is fighting for, they're fighting for change in the community. They're fighting for laws to be adjusted. They're fighting for, I know I'm not only talking to myself right now, but they're fighting for people to make a debate about police reform. They're fighting for community activism. They're fighting for community involvement. They're fighting for community engagement. They're trying to decrease police deaths within the community, decrease. And the Black Lives Matter movement was actually created to help bring down criminal to death rates in the communities, especially in South Central Los Angeles, which was one of the founding chapters. Chicago, which has a huge Black Lives Matter movement, Chicago, Southside Chicago, and even in New York and Portland, and so big, huge Black Lives Matter movements in Portland, as well as in Chicago and South Central Los Angeles and in Boston and in New York. Huge Black Lives Matter movements. These big cities, as well as the smaller cities, but still at the same time, though, we have to come together and debate amongst each other and figure out how do we work towards a resolution within the police community as well as within the Black community, and come together on the same page and somehow reach a resolution where we can fix this problem of criminal uh, gun violence within our community, as well as decreasing police shootings against our young Black brothers and sisters within our community. Okay, and so that's kind of where I wanted to talk about my letter to my. I know I'm 8 minutes. I hope you guys will read it. It's a great read. It's good. It's like 10, 15 pages. It's a good read on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. It's a great letter. It's called, I really wanted to talk about their initiative talking about defunding the police, because at the same time, we still need the police. You cannot defund police institutions and try to create block parties to substitute police institutions. A block party does not have as much financial or as much police um, presence, security presence, as much as a unit guard or a police department police segment has. Okay, but you can still have a lot more community input and community agencies and counselors and organizations in there that can go in there and say we will make a difference in our community. We will have civic engagement, community engagement, to help kind of relieve the stress that our local police enforcement and departments deal with on a day-by-day basis. Okay, so we will try to figure out some way to decrease the stress and relieve the stress and deal with that. Okay, so again, that's why I wrote this book, Defunding the Police Initiatives. We still need the police, but at the same time is we need to work together toward a resolution in order to help resolve this problem of constant police gun violence against our community, our Black and Latino community. Okay, Black, Latino, and Asian community. So anyway, Very happy to be here today. The Queen Battle. Please buy my book. Support me on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. It's called A Letter to the Black Lives Matter Movement, Defunding the Police Initiative. So God bless you and your family and your loved ones. Y'all take care and God bless.